Okay, it's 4-2 Christian, and I think we should start, and rest who will be coming, they can join in as we continue. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So, hi everyone. To everyone who's attending this seminar today, there's something common in all of us, and I'm sure you all will agree to my next statement. We all like to leverage on technology to grow and make our life easy. Now, having said that, today we will be looking at some technological advancement that Dreamchip has achieved with their all new mini HD and 4K camera systems without compromising on picture quality. These cameras are the perfect example of nanotechnology and how in future hardware in the media and entertainment industry is going to shrink in size, giving us more freedom and flexibility to design our workflows. Now, probably I can see that there's a lot of mixed audience today here. So I would like to introduce myself. I'm Priyan Parab. I take care of the techno sales and I'm part of the business development team at Cineom. And I mean, I would like to wish you all a really good afternoon. And I hope you all are safe during this inevitable situation of coronavirus. Thank you, everyone, for being on board on today's session and welcome you all. And further, I'll introduce you to Mr. Christian. Christian is the sales and product marketing um, uh, person from Germany in Dreamchip. And Christian is going to guide us today on everything about his cameras. He's going to go deep into the things and, he's going to tell you everything about them. So over to you, Christian.
Hi, how are you doing? Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
Hi, nice to participate.
Thank you very much.
So
just wanted to respond because nobody is responding. So I thought let me respond.
Yeah, sure. So before we start, we'll just have a short introduction about Cineom, about who we are. So Cineom is the India's leading media solution and integration company. This I won't say. This is claimed by Digital Studio Magazine, who has awarded us 4 years consecutively for the best system integrators in India. Founded in year 2000, we are 20 years young, I would say. Presence across 8 cities, which makes us always near to our customers in India, and we have presence in Middle East with operational offices in Dubai and Qatar. 150 plus employees with 60% of the employee strength being engineers, so which makes us always ready at your disposal. We have delivered more than 400 projects successfully till date, and we are right there with you from the design stage to the implementation stage. Yeah. Next question. Yeah. So quickly want to run you through the streams and services we provide. So we work into 6 verticals into the media and entertainment industry. Broadcast, where we set up all the general entertainment and TV channels. It's a turnkey solutions we take in. Film, obviously we are associated with ARRI cameras. We are partners with ARRI in India. We are the master distributors with a service center for more than 8 years now. We have a knack at designing the post-production studios. Video post comes into picture, the audio post part, AV and surveillance, and various digital services which we take on board for media asset management and production asset management for various TV channels in India. Now, what we offer in each of these streams, you see, we offer these 4 things: consultancy and design, installation, integration, and support. So we make sure we are always there for you. Over to you, Christian. The stage is yours. You may continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So welcome. This is from Peter Sharper, our boss. We want to enable our customer to tell the story in a different way. We want our products to be close to the action and catch every tear and sweat drop. Never miss the unique moment. I hope you're doing fine. Thank you very much for having me on this webinar. I'm gonna give you a brief introduction about our Dreamchip in total, and then I show you our cameras, the SSM 500, we have the Barracuda, and then the production roadmap. So first of all, we are based in Germany, in Garbsen, that's next to Hannover, it's in the middle of Germany. I'm based over here with 25 engineers in Hamburg. Then we have another site at Braunschweig, which is next to a car manufacturer. And then we have some engineers in the Netherlands. So all in common, we're 120 people. And what we are really looking for is we're getting a very nice sensor and getting the best picture quality out of it. And we did this now as Dreamchip for 10 years, but all the team knows each other more than 30 years. So we've been on other companies before, but the main team stick together for now for 30 years. And we did a lot of OEM, and you may know another company from Germany who do big cameras, and we were working for them as well. So that's the reason we are only allowed to produce small little cameras, and we are the design company behind this brilliant pictures, actually. So this is our main focus today. So we're doing cameras and IP streaming devices. And this is the whole range of our cameras. So as you see here, we have a very small HD camera, as you see in the video. And we have 5 full HD and 3 UHD, and they can do all HDR. That's very important. They can do HLG and PQ, and they have all HD SDI out. And in the middle, you see our new Atom 1 SSM 500. So this is a quote from our customer from last year. Please have a look. So as you see, they were matching our small cameras with the big broadcast cameras, and they could done this because we are using a multi-matrix in all our cameras. We designed this by our own, and we designed the ISP in the camera. And because of this multi-matrix, we actually can match to all the big broadcast cameras. That's very important. So this is actually a picture from a customer. He was comparing to the Sony HTC 2400, our Atom 1 HD camera. And as you can see, he really could match all the colors. So the workflow with our cameras is actually quite simple. You connect our cameras to a Sony RCP or a SignView or SKAHOI, and we can actually, because the protocol is open for our cameras, can easily match this into the RCPs. So if you work with a Sony RCP, you can find the same knob which is working with the Sony is working with our Atom cameras. So for us, it was very important to integrate our cameras in the same workflow like you used before. So this is the Atom 1 Mini. That's a very small camera. Maybe you see it here in the video. So the Atom 1 Mini, it's an HD camera. It has mini HD SDI out and a HIROS connector. And on this HIROS connector, you have power and HR485. So with this, you can control the camera with the Sony RCP, as I mentioned, or you can run it with a free software we have for every camera. This software I'll explain you later on. And we have built in a microphone, a little one from a mobile. And this microphone actually is just for surround sound. So I wouldn't take it for actually an interview, but you know, our cameras are mainly used in cars and somewhere, so you just have some ambient sound. The next one is the Atom 1 Mini Air, and I can show you this one as well. So it's this one, and the camera before was this one. So it's actually the same camera, but instead of connectors, we have some cables running out. So you can really easily put that somewhere, and it's a very small camera. It has the same sensor in there as the camera before, It's just, you know, that we get rid of the connectors, we're just running cables out, and then we get it even a little bit smaller. And we put this camera in a waterproof housing so you can use it outdoor. So we have the Atom 1 Mini waterproof. It's actually the same camera like before. And then we have the Atom 1. So the Atom 1, just to give you an example, that was the Atom 1 Mini. That's the Atom 1. It's a little bit bigger. It has 2 HD SDI outputs and sync, so you can run it with other cameras and gen log it. And you have a RAW output if you want to record RAW. And most important, this camera is a global shutter. So if you have this camera connected to in a moving car or something, this camera gives a perfect, brilliant HD picture. Then we have the 4K Mini 7. This is a very small camera. Again, we have 2 HD SDI out, a gen log, and because of the sensor size of this camera, we can use a small lens in front of it. So some people really don't have actually space for camera, and this one is the smallest 4K we have at the moment. Then that's the Atom 1 4K Mini 11, which has a 2/3 sensor, so you can actually run this camera with your existing B4 lenses, because we have a B4 mount to C mount adapter. It actually looks quite funny if you have such a camera and then such a lens on it, but people are using it. And so again, you have the same connectors, 2 HD SDI out. And on the 4K, you have the possibilities to actually have one 4K, because there are 12G HDSDI outputs. And on the other HDSDI output, you can run HD out. So some people only have an HD monitor next to the camera, they can have a look at the picture. And you will not have a crop of the picture, you will have the same picture like on the 4K. Then we have the 4K 16. So in the camera, you see it, that's the 4K 16. So all the 4Ks actually have the same size. Just to give you an example, that's the Atom 1. And then, hopefully it's not falling down. That's the Atom 1 Mini. So here you see the range. And the 4K 16 is a global shutter, have very nice dynamic range. Again, 2 HD SDI outputs and RAW out and gen log. So this camera is at the moment the biggest 4K camera we have. So now I would like to give you a short introduction about the GUI. So as you see over here, this is the Pro Video Control GUI. You just have to connect it with a USB to your computer, and then you say which COM port you're on, and then you usually say auto detection, and then you connect it with this free software. Over here you can actually name your device. So if you have a lot of Atom cameras, you can say Atom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can put on different RS485 address. So if you have multi-camera mode, you can change between all these cameras. That's very important. So if you change something in this GUI, please always push that Save Setting button, and if you push that and then you unplug the power, the same settings will still be stored in the camera. It's not stored on your computer, it's stored in the camera. So if you power up the camera again, you will have the same settings coming up. So right now, as you can see here, it's shutter and ISO, and if I change the shutter, immediately the picture on the back is changing. And right now I have the 4K Mini 16 here, and as you can see here, we can run every camera till 60p. So all the 4K and all the HD models, as you saw before, can run till 60p, and we can all do this fractional and all our cameras have this downscale. So right now at the moment I'm going in actually with HD, because this program allows me only to go in with HD. So here I have the downscaler applied, and then you can flip, flop, rotate the camera. You can change this to HLG and PQ, and you can run it in Rec 2020. And down here you have the possibilities to actually connect on the back to some other cameras, and then you have the same Genlock configuration, I think, in all big broadcast cameras. And you can make your own timecode from this camera as well. So this was the first page. Then the second page is actually about focus and iris control, about the motor drive. So as you see here, there's a motor drive on this camera, and if I'm now changing the focus, or if I'm changing the ISO, you see it's working. On all these commands, we going through this one RS485 cable, and as you see later on, you can control all these commands with the Sony RCP as well, and with all the other RCPs. So here you have flare compensation and master black, as you may know from other cameras. And then over here you have white balance, you have saturation, brightness and contrast. And very important, if you use an RCP, please always enable white balance. Because if you don't do that, the automatic white balance will always come back to, so if you control with a Sony RCP, for example, and you have this on, you control something and then it will always flop back. So please always make sure, start first the GUI, make this enable, and then please save it. Then over here you have detail level and denoise, as you know from other cameras as well. And this is the heart of all our cameras. So this is the color matrix we built in. So this multi-matrix actually allows you to control all the different colors. I'm a big fan that you get a loaner from us and you play around with this, because over here on Easy Talks, it's not, the quality of the image is not as good as it is here in live. So if you have some time, please get a loaner camera and play around with it. So over here you have the knee function, as you may know from other Sony cameras, and that's the gamma correction. A lot of people are using 709 or own, or HLG or PQ, but if you want to make your own gamma correction, you can do this, and you can save these gamma curves, or you can load in your own gamma curves as you like. Then we have a defect pixel correction. Sometimes you have some pixels who shouldn't be there, white or green or blue. So over here you actually can delete them. Then we have the legal and extended range, you may know from other Sony cameras. And over here you find out what is actually your camera, when was it built, what is the name of the camera, the serial ID, how hot is the camera, and when it shut down. So we can tell over here when your camera actually shut down. That's very important. If you are shooting in hot conditions in Dubai or somewhere, always make sure that at 80 degrees it's shutting down. And on the last page, if you connect this with your laptop, you can check for a new firmware over here for the software in the camera, and you can check for the GUI if you're on the latest, greatest. So every 2 months we make a new release, because we're always trying to get the best picture quality with our cameras out of there. So please always check if you have our cameras, check for new firmware. If you run our cameras with multiple cameras. So, for example, you have 10 Atom 1 cameras. You can change this over here in the multi-camera mode. So you connect 10 cameras through the USB hub to a laptop, and on multi-camera mode you can then switch all the same 10 cameras at the same time, the same settings. And if you want to change every camera one by one, on this tab it goes down, and then you can choose which camera you take, and then you can change the settings. So either way, multi-camera mode, or you change it over here. Okay, that was the Pro Video Control. That gives you a little bit of an idea what we've built all in these little cameras. And we'll have motor control on the cameras. So we have it for the HD and for the camera, 4K cameras. So this motor control gives me the possibilities to focus and do the iris. And we have this for a lot of lenses for C-mount. And we have this for the B4 and for the PL mount, because we have a C mount to PL. So if you want to use your Cook lenses, you can use our motors, the PL adapter, and you can run it. So on every camera you have an aux port. You just connect this on the back to the aux port, and your motor is then below over here. And it's very strong attached, because usually our cameras are getting in rough environments, so they stick it to a car somewhere, and this car is always wobbling. So we designed our own motors to be very tough on the cameras, very important. Then we have a waterproof housing. This waterproof housing is for the Atom 1 4K Mini 7. It's actually a very small, as we're doing small cameras, it's a small housing. We built this housing brand new for actually the Olympics, which will be hopefully next year. And they already used it and bought tons of it. And so this is the waterproof housing for the 4K Mini 7. So this is, I already explained it, the Atom 1 SSM 500. This is a new design of cameras we did. So in the past you saw all these Atom cameras, they're very small, and this is now a new high-speed camera that we put on the market. We asked several kind of customers for the last 2 years, what are you missing? And they said, well, you know, we are missing a high-speed camera, which is small, and we're missing an HD HDR high-speed camera. So we were looking for a nice sensor for this, and then we designed this camera. And as you can see here on the back, you have 5 HD SDI outputs, a gen lock. This is the power, and you can control it over Ethernet, and the same aux port you have on the little other cameras, you have it with this one as well. And then on the back you have a little display that you see how many frame rates you're running, etc., etc. So very important, this is a global shutter camera, and the resolution is HD. And you can run it with 500 frames, or you can run it with 300 frames, and you have then 12-bit. That means you have more dynamic range. You can run it in the SSM mode, so in the super slow motion mode, and or in the trigger mode. You can control it over RS485 or IP. And again, this camera can do HDR and HLG and PQ. And we have built in the multimatrix, as I shown you before. And the workflow is quite simple. So either you work with this camera in the SSM mode, like we already shown this camera at the IBC in 2019. That was the first time we actually showed this. That was a prototype at that stage. And we were showing this camera at the EVS booth and at our booth. And so the EVS were actually controlling our cameras. but you can just use any server devices. There are many out there. We just used EVS because they're next to us. They're over here in Belgium. And so right now we're talking with more and more server companies. They want to integrate our cameras. And so if you're not in this broadcast environment, you can still use our camera in the trigger mode. So in the trigger mode, you just connect the camera and you can connect it with our software or with third-time players. So there is the possibilities to have C-mount, like all our cameras are C-mount, or on the B4. And these two cameras are now ready to ship out. And you can just use your already bought maybe an HD broadcast before zoom lens, and you can just use this zoom lens on our cameras. And the control, as I said, we're working together with SignView. So SignView, they are doing this two remote controls, and they have their own RCP. So you can control with the SignView RCP our cameras, and this remote control, you can control the high-speed camera, the SSM 500. They have two devices. The one is the Shuttle Pro, and the other one is the JLC Cooper. This JLC Cooper is really well known in the US, and it's a little bit more expensive, have more features, and the Shuttle Pro is a very cheap version. But if you only want to use the playback device, it's working as well. So the Skahoy, it's another brand. This is run from Denmark, and Skahoy, they have their own RCP as well. And you can control with this RCP our cameras, and they have their own remote, as you see over here. And with this remote, you can control as well. Then we have Antelope camera system. They have the same RCP, and you can control with this RCP our cameras. And before we get into production applications, I would like to show you again the picture from this camera, because over here, this is the camera, and this is the software. And I'm a big fan, you know, this camera has a lot of, so right now we're shooting with this camera, it's just over here. And right now we're shooting with this camera 500 frames in a shutter with 1/500 still. And I don't have over here much light. It's actually in Germany now, it's not nice sunny, it's very gray, and I only have my lamps from the roof. So, and you still see a picture. If you do this with any other high-speed camera, it would be totally dark. And I have a Canon zoom lens on it, and this Canon zoom lens has an open of 2.8, so it's not the 1.0. And right now I'm using only ISO 160, and I can actually, you know, get it much higher. But hold on, I just have to connect it. Oh. Hold on a second. So if I'm pushing now the ISO higher, you see I can highlight the image, and this is the live image, as you see over here. I have my hand in, and then if I'm recording, and then I say stop, I have over here 2 buffers which I can use. Or I can use 4 buffers, that's up to you. And this high-speed camera is really incredible. Over here you see 500 frames and shot with a shutter with 1/500 still. And as you see here. And I'm a big fan that you please ask Cineom, Priyan, that they can give you this camera for testing because you have to see this image quality. It's just amazing. I really was blown away the first time as I saw this camera, and because usually you have to put on a lot of lights to actually light out 500 frames, and on this one the image sensor is so good at, I just put a little of ISO and we have a very bright image. So, product applications. Our little cameras, they can run in all sorts of environments, and we are really well known at Endemol Shine. You maybe know Endemol because of Big Brother. So they're using our cameras everywhere and hiding them into several kind of places and then controlling it over the RSCP. And Ninja Warrior or any other show where they couldn't fit a big camera and they put on this one. Then we are very well known in soccer and in the Formula One and on pole cam. So this is a pole cam. It's a very small crane, and it's a very lightweight crane, easily to build up. And we're working together with pole cam, and they use our cameras a lot of times. So, as I said, in the helmet, on the stump, in the tunnel, in the grass, on cricket, in the helmet, next to the coach, behind the goal. So on sports, there are many ways to actually have our cameras set up somewhere. And in esports, we are really well known. So as you can see over here, above the monitor, there's always our cameras. They want to film the players, the reaction and how they play. And they want to control these cameras, and that's the reason they actually use our cameras. And then on news, we have this camera as a remote studio production. Then in cinema, you probably known this movie was shot in 3D. This is called, I'm not allowed to say the name, but you see a lot of blue people walking in there. And this is the second which was shot. And they had this little 3D stereo rigs and used our 4K 16 camera, and they bought, I think, 40 of our 4K cameras. So
I would like to give some hint over there. Blue animated characters, so that would make more sense.
Blue animated. Yeah, it's kind of live and animated
very
together.
famous. Yeah.
Was very known. So they shot now the second. And actually, in the whole cinema area, we're well known because actually you can match our cameras to Arri cameras really well, or to Canon and Sony. So in cinema area, everywhere where you need a camera which is small and tight and you don't have the big space, for example, you can put this one on the rickshaw if you want. And if the big camera is not fitting there, just use our cameras. Then we have over here in Europe, we have tons of concerts and live events, and now during Corona this year it stopped all. But usually on concerts our cameras are well known. So we because we don't have any delay, and that's very important if you run concerts. Some cameras have some delay internally, but our cameras, they have no buffer inside, so you get straight an HD SDI signal. And if you run a concert show live, it's very important that all your cameras are actually live and not having a delay internally. So on concerts, and we sell a lot of cameras actually to the US in some churches, and in general in House of Worship. It's more and more coming, and because of this Corona crisis, we're selling to them more and more, because they miss the people in their houses. So then a totally another product that we have is this Barracuda. And this Barracuda is small as well. It's not a big piece, as you maybe see in the video over here. It's a small device. And this Barracuda has, it's an encoder and decoder, first of all. And what you can do is you can put 5 HD cameras on it and then stream it over Ethernet. And that's the Ethernet output over here. Or you can put a LTE SIM card in there, and then you can stream it over LTE on your mobile SIM card. So over here you have the 5 HD SDI in, and this is the same HIROS connector from all our cameras. You can actually plug in 5 cameras from us and power them, and then get the HD SDI signals in here. So this Barracuda was made, for example, you have a Formula 1 car and you put that in there. You only have to power them once, the Barracuda, and then you can power 5 on our cameras, and then you can get the HD SDI in here and stream all the signals through LTE or through a LAN. And at the same time, you can actually record on an SD card. So if you, for example, losing a picture, you still have the SD card and can put the footage over there. If you want to record very long hours, you have the possibilities to put on this USB 3 a SSD, and then you can record as much as the SSD fit in. So here are the specs. Because of the data rate, it's only possible to have one 4K P60, or 2 times 4K to P30, or 4 times HD to P60, or 5 times HD to P30. We can do 25, 24, all the frame rates like our cameras can do. So all the cryptic, I can show you all the frame rates we run over here. So 30, 25, 24, all these strange formats we can do, 50p, 60p. So all these formats we can run on this Barracuda as well. Every time, again, it's till P60 or till P30. And you have a microphone in, so we can run audio in there as well, and out. And as I said, you can go and stream the stuff. So over here is just an example. You have 5 cameras connected to our encoder. You have an external audio device that you have in the church. And then you stream it over internet to your decoder. And then there's several kind of softwares out there. Right now we have OBS over here. And with OBS, you can stream then to Facebook or YouTube. Or if you want, you can use these 5 cameras on the encoder and stream all the 5 cameras directly to YouTube or Facebook, if you like. Up to you. You don't need to have the decoder. On this one, if you only need the encoder, you stream all the 5 cameras. Oops, sorry. All the 5 cameras at the same time. If you want to switch between the 5 cameras, you should use the decoder, get all the 5 cameras out, and then get one after the other into this OBS. So this is a kind of workflow setup that it's actually quite used nowadays. Or again, you can have this section in a car or somewhere else, and then stream it over your LTE or over network. So production roadmap. as there was no NAB, but we want to finalize that product. So for NAB, we actually finalized the SSM 500. This is now the final product, and it's ready to sell. And a lot of people were asking us about a PDZ solution, and there's now BR Remote. They made this little remote head. As you can see, it's a tiny version as well. And all our cameras can fit on there, so the HD one and the 4K. And this remote head, as I said, it's from BR Remote, and it was already used at the America's Cup 2019. You just connect the camera to this head, HD SDI and power and RS485, and then it's then you connect it to the remote joystick, and then you can do all the settings, color calibration, and all the stuff, and you can pan and tilt. So this is from BR Remote. If you want to use it, please go to Cineom, to Priyan. He will definitely get some remote heads in his hand very soon. And then we were looking very, very long for a zoom, and because a lot of people asking for a zoom. At the moment we only had fixed focus lenses, because if you compare big broadcast cameras with our small cameras and you're using a shitty zoom, then you get into trouble regarding picture quality. And that's the reason we only were going with fixed focal lenses and not having a zoom. And we were searching very long for a nice zoom. And now we found a 3x optical zoom. You have the iris control. It's very wide angle. And again, this device is very small, as we're doing small cameras. And this Atom 1 Mini Zoom will be ready for IBC 2020. I hope this IBC will be there. And yeah, so we're gonna show this Zoom at the IBC, hopefully, and till then it's gonna be finished. And it's gonna be a little bit bigger than this one, so maybe this size. If you have some questions how to use the Sony RCP or the Skahoy or SineView RCP or motor drivers or whatever, we did on Vimeo channel, so you can see all the stuff working together with the Sony remote. I can give you now a shortly picture from the Sony if you want. So I connected over here on this Atom the Sony, and as you can see here, this is working remotely, and you can change the colors, everything. So this camera, and you have the auto wide, then it's back to normal, and you can actually use all the features you have on the Sony, like you have an existing Sony camera on there. So as I said, all this can controlled via our Sony RCP with our cameras. And then we are on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and on Instagram we're always trying to put some pictures out how people used our cameras. If you get a camera from Cineom, please make a picture how you used it and send it to me or to Priyan, because we're trying to get more and more different kind of pictures. And it's I think in India it could be quite funny where you're rigging our small cameras. So we have a web page. It's called the atom1.de, and please have a look at this web page. Our reseller in India is, as I said, Cineom. Please contact Priam for a demo. I'm a big fan of having a demo, and then please compare it to other small cameras. I'm not afraid. Even please do it, and then see our picture quality and the others. And this is some of our reference. As I said, we're selling worldwide, and yeah, this is the stuff we did. We're gonna have some more webinars if you're interested. I can later on, or Priyan can send you an email with the webinars. So the one webinar gonna be everything about the Sony RCP control. Then the other webinar about SignView RCP, then the Skahoy RCP, and we're gonna have a dedicated webinar regarding the Barracuda. And then we explain you in half an hour everything into detail about these devices. Then, if you have some questions, and I saw already in the group chat question, please write me in the group chat the questions and we'll answer it now. Or you can send me an email and I will answer these questions. And if you were thinking, oh, my colleagues should know about these cameras, or I have to do this webinar again with someone else, please tell Priyan we can do this webinars again and again, and we can have some private sessions if you want. We are in Germany over here locked down as you over there in India because of the coronavirus, and we're not going anywhere. So we're more than open to explain you everything into detail about all our cameras.